Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish. Let's talk about fish, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about fish. Let's talk about fish. Fish.
Well, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good, Joey. How are you?
I'm good. I hope the shoal is doing well. Hello, everyone.
The shoal seems to be doing famously.
They are.
Xanadu. Monsters. Xanadu had snow on the ground. And lots more coming.
Yeah, I think they were talking about the Kentucky area getting some snow.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen snow. I haven't seen snow on the ground probably 30 years.
Yeah, I bet. So,
Really,
well, if you're
maybe
moving to Maryland, you'll see some snow. You'll see some.
I guess.
So,
yeah, I'm due to go up there in May. He wants me up there in May. So I may just, take my time and put the rather rush up there. There's not much point in doing that. Really try to get my ducks in a row and figure out.
And there's no
I really need somebody to take this shop over. If I could get somebody to come in and purchase it for a reasonable amount, I'm a very reasonable guy.
Yeah,
that would be great.
I was gonna say, yeah, wouldn't that be? It'd be easy. It'd be a lot
easier. It'd be easy. Yeah, I've got two young men here who are very, very nice, capable, committed, and excited young men, intelligent, with a good work ethic, but they ain't got no money.
I was saying, the problem is all those things are great, but yeah, it comes down to, do you have the money?
Yeah, they got no money, right?
Unfortunately.
So, but we'll see how it works out. It's these things have a way of working themselves out favorably. So, not worried about it at all. Just anxious to move forward.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's going to be very exciting. For those of you who do not know what we're talking about, a friend of mine owns the Catoctin Mountain Zoological Park in Fairmont, Maryland, up near Frederick, north of D.C., about 40 miles, I guess. It is probably certainly one of the most exquisite zoo parks in the country. Been there for many, many years. I've known Rick since he bought it in the early 1960s. So it's been that's been 60 years, nearly 60 years, 55. Long time. And they've built it into something really spectacular. Well, the program now, they're wanting to build a very large greenhouse that will house tropical species year round,
Nice.
including animals and birds and reptiles and fish. So the plan is for me to come in and help develop that and put together fish displays that will
Mm-hmm.
be of the sort that I've been promoting here. That'll be balanced displays that will demonstrate the ease with which it's possible to set up a genuinely balanced tank using deep substrate and all the principles that we espouse, including limited food and so forth. So anyway, that's the idea, and it will make for an absolutely magnificent YouTube venue.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
so
And
we'll have all kinds of animals. Incidentally, you saw the rabbit yesterday.
well, I mean, it'll just make it fun for you. You don't have to be worried about sales and all that. You'll just be able to do your thing, and that'll be nice, you know.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
um,
Yeah, go ahead.
well, no, were you done? Sorry.
I was just going to say the reality is that the YouTube channel is finally getting to a level where it really is sustainable,
Yeah.
and where it's possible to do some more interesting, exciting things, and for it to be able to pay not only for itself but for some help, because
Yeah.
I've realized I really need help to do this. So I've now got 2 part-time people on board
There you
helping to
go.
make it happen.
Yeah. So, all right. Can we do a couple wrenches to start with?
Yeah, let me.
And Daniel said he hasn't been able to get into Discord. I know that's another thing, but just keep that in mind.
Okay, tell him to go back and sign up again,
Okay.
and I will. There was something wrong with my account at the
Okay.
time, but I
So
think
he's still in here. So Daniel, try Discord again, and we're gonna get. And that's
Yeah,
I want
I'm
you
gonna-
to get Daniel a wrench at 8:58.
yeah, I will do that as well.
Okay.
Let me get
Please.
open here.
And then there are a couple others too.
Yeah, I will. Okay, right now, if I can move on down. Sean Campbell.
Sure. I mean, there's a couple. There are a few new people in here,
Sean's
but I want.
brand new. Let's give Sean a day. Nice to have you with us, Sean. Good to have you here. Come on back. Come on back one more day, and we'll
Yeah.
give you a wrench. We'll
Okay.
try to do
Daniel,
that second day.
Daniel at 8:58. Father Fish.
Got it.
Okay. And then there's Oh, I'm scrolling. Sorry, everybody. I think it was D&M.
Oh, good mother is here. Wonderful. Nice to see
Oh.
you, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Can you give at 9:04? Can you give D&M a wrench, please? They've been here a few times.
Yep, got it.
And Oreo right below it, 9:04.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's the ones I had in my mind, and the other people are new today. But if you come back 1 or 2 more times, you'll get a wrench.
For sure.
And then, Brianne Farrell had asked a little bit about her bettas her male make a bubble nest.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah,
That was
and-
really interesting.
I mean, I can give you my take on it, and then
Yeah, go
Father
ahead.
Fish, too.
Sure.
Yeah. They can make them. They can make a bunch of little ones. They can make one teeny one. It doesn't matter the size of the nest. They can still, spawn and hatch fry. They don't have to have this. You see these wonderful nests on the internet, and they're all layered, and they're just amazing. But it doesn't have to be that to hatch, for those eggs to hatch out. I've had them hatch where they drop down. They can't keep them in the nest for whatever reason. They'll still hatch, and then they'll put them up. So that's my take on it. What's yours?
Yeah, that's right. The reality is that once they pick up the egg, which starts to fall very slowly,
Right.
once they pick it up, they coat it with a lighter than water slime, I guess, or air or whatever, and the egg will then float relatively well. So while they while they need the bubbles to hold the eggs up there, the eggs are helping. They're doing their part as well. They're pretty light, as you can imagine. They're nearly not much more than the density of water, so they don't sink quickly. They're not like a stone. And yeah, the nest can be any size or no size. I've seen them breed with just a few little random bubbles.
Yep, me
And
too.
as the eggs are laid, they'll build more nests. But
Right.
generally, if you want to breed them, the best way to do it is to float the female, but set up the male in a container that preferably is an older container, at least a gallon. Bigger is better. 5 gallons, 10 gallons is okay. Beyond that is unnecessary and really too big. A 5 gallon, 10 gallon, a 1 gallon jar with a lot of plants in it, and a really dirty, moldy bottom. That's really important. If you have a dirty, moldy bottom, then those babies, when they start swimming, are going to be able to find food right away. You will need to feed them, but that early food is critical, and it's tinier than brine shrimp. So unless you're prepared to feed microworms or develop a paramecium culture, you really need that early natural food in the tank for those babies, or they won't survive the first 2 to 3 days. After a couple of days,
Absolutely.
they're big enough to take baby brine shrimp, but for the first 2 to 3 days, they're not. So it's worthless to try to feed it to them because they can't eat it. They're not big enough. They can't get it in their mouth. They may try, and you may have a few succeed, but you're not going to keep the whole herd. You're not going to keep the entire shoal of babies. So
Exactly.
yeah, and the other thing is, do not try to feed until the fish are free swimming. And this goes for any baby fish that are hatching. Obviously, viviparous fish, live-born fish are able to feed immediately. But for most other fish, not all, and I'll explain what I mean. For most other fish that hatch after the egg is laid 2 or 3 days before, they are not able to swim. We call them wigglers. They lay on the bottom and they they just kind of wiggle, and you can, if you look at them under a microscope, you can see a big yolk with this little tiny sliver on top wiggling, and they're absorbing that yolk and continuing to develop. It takes 2 to 3 days then for them to use up that yolk to complete their development and to begin to come up off the bottom swimming. Once they do, they need food. Right then, that day, not the next day, they need food that day. Now, I talked about an exception. There are more than one. Gobies. Gobies are an exception. Most of the gobies will hold their eggs. The eggs will remain in the nest for weeks up to a month because the eggs develop into full bloom, ready to eat fish that have absorbed 100% of that yolk sac, and when they hatch out, they are ready to go. Typically, those babies will shoot to the top and stay there because that's where the bulk of the infusoria is, right at the top of the water, whether it's saltwater or freshwater, and they will feed instantly on that water. If they don't have food the day they hatch, they will not live through to the second day. They need to have food within hours. So if you're trying to hatch out Nemo clownfish, for example, or any of the freshwater gobies, they need very tiny food. They're very tiny fish. They're not big. They cannot eat baby brine shrimp. That's much too big for them. They need infusoria. They need copepods or something comparable to that very, very tiny, microscopically tiny food. So that's my story about all that. Chevy Fish, I'm sure, will have something to say here.
Sure. I mean, it's. I mean, the big thing is, like you said. I mean, really, the betta does it himself. He's going to take care of all the babies. He's good, but you need to make sure there's something in there for the babies to eat when he's
Yeah,
done
and
his
can't
job.
feed them. You can't feed them.
You can't
Right.
feed them dry food. No, they want live food. They
Right,
want
no dry
something
food. Yeah,
swimming
dry
around.
food won't work at all. Now, a little caveat there. There is a food that a lot of the farmers are now using. It is golden pearls, the 5 micron size, which is about the size of a grain of dust. It's
Yeah.
about that size. If you've ever looked through a window with the sun coming in and you see dust in the air, that's about the size of 5 microns.
My experience is they don't eat that, but maybe it worked for you. I've tried it.
There are a lot of them that don't.
Yeah.
There are fish that don't. There are a lot of fish that do.
The baby bettas wouldn't certainly eat that.
Probably
They wanted live
not.
food.
Yeah, they need live food.
Yeah.
The gobies don't go after it. There's some baby fish that trigger on movement. They have to have something right up on their nose, that's wiggling, and they'll grab that.
Right.
They're not going to grab something floating by. They're going to grab something that's wiggling. They trigger on motion, on movement. But again, not all baby fish are like that. A lot of baby fish, like the baby tetras, all the little fish, the tiny fish, like the tetras, they don't trigger on motion. They trigger on whatever's in front of them to bite. They'll just take anything in.
But it is a good food. It's a very good food. If your fish will take it and eat it, it's
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
It's
The
a great
research
food.
is interesting with the clowns, for example, the clown gobies. What they found was that in every hatching, there were 1 or 2 of the babies that took the golden pearls out of the entire clutch. 1 or 2 ate them and matured. I mean, got past that first developmental stage. Out of hundreds, 1 or 2 would eat it.
I would say you'd probably have that same kind of luck with a big batch of betta fry. You might get 1 or 2 that would take that and eat it, but overall, they're not going to make it.
That's an interesting point, because the other thing about that's fascinating is with the baby bettas, if you do not feed them, if you depend on the natural food, the infusoria that's in that tank to feed them, you will get a handful, 2, 3, 4, 5 that'll survive. The rest will not, because it won't be enough food to go around. Essentially, you got 100 hungry mouths. It takes a fair amount of food, even though it's microscopic, to be able to meet their needs. So the only the strong survive.
Which is nature in general, survival of the fittest.
Well, yeah, that's right.
And it should still be that way.
After all, why do you think they have hundreds, sometimes thousands of babies? They don't. There's no expectation that they're all going to survive, none whatsoever. In fact, for many fish, none survive. The average survival rate. Here's a good example: sea turtles.
I was just thinking about them. Yeah.
Were you really? Yeah. Sea turtles. Sea turtles lay in a hatchery. There may be 100,000 eggs in that hatchery. there will be millions region wide of that specific species, whatever it is, leatherback, whatever. Hundreds of thousands of eggs. What they need is replacement population. Now, they only breed once a year. They lay one or two, sometimes three clutches. Um, the expectation, the demand, I should say, the biological demand for maintenance of the species is that that turtle that lives to however long it lives, 50 years, let's say, must replace itself and its mate with two survivors in order for that population to be able to survive. So that turtle that's laying 50 to 100, maybe 2 to 300 eggs a year for 20, 30, 40 years. How many is that? 10,000 eggs? 10,000 eggs. Only two need to survive for that population to not go down. This is averages, of course, but it just gives you an idea of what the reality is of breeding populations of animals that have very large numbers, very large numbers of babies. There is no expectation. In point of fact, no demand. In point of fact, if the majority of them survived, they would overwhelm other populations of animal with their numbers. There are, after all, swarms of birds and fish that come to certain locations at certain points in the calendar, certain times of year, in order to feed on the hatching of
that's
baby
what I was going to say.
turtles.
Great food source.
Whatever. It's a primary food source. That's right.
Circle of life.
So, to draw a little bow in this, don't give me any of this nonsense about protecting the turtles. Nobody is protecting the turtles. It's aberrant nonsense.
It's just nature, you know. All right, so you want to move on to a different question?
By all means.
All right, so D&M Remix. Hello, everybody. Actually, start off with a question right away. One gold molly has white spots all over her. I raise the temperature for prevention. Any other steps? I guess we want to make sure you raised it to the right temperature.
Precisely, yeah. You want to raise that temperature to an absolute minimum of 86 degrees. And that's not 86 degrees on a thermometer that's registering 1 degree low. That's 86 degrees absolute. So use a second thermometer to make sure you've got it at 86 degrees. You can go higher. You can go to 90 degrees without hurting a thing. That will kill the parasite. You have a parasite on the fish. If it's tiny white spots, it's ick. It's a parasite. And if you don't deal with it, it'll get plentiful enough in there. It'll both kill that fish and begin attacking others. Thank you, Guppy Grass Galore. Been using Hikari First Bites for guppies. It's a perfect food for live-bearing baby fish. They're big enough to be able to eat it. They can manage anything. It works really just fine.
Father Fish, you have two super chats.
I've got Johan Martin sent. Yes, and Johan sent your donors. Yes, he did this yesterday.
He did that yesterday, but you also have one from Jennifer Merva.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Johan.
For Father Fish.
You're at my attention, Johan. Thank you so much. Yes, Johan did a donut donation yesterday,
Oh,
right at
very
the
nice.
end of the stream, and I missed it. My apologies.
Oh,
But
yes,
thank you
yes,
again,
you.
very, very much. It's very kind of you. And Joey's trying her best to get in because she wants me to look at Jennifer Merva.
I do. I just don't want you to miss anybody. You know?
I'm not going to miss anybody.
I'm
Where is
persistent.
Jennifer?
Nothing
Jennifer's
else.
up above there. She is.
And I'm
Jennifer, new to the channel. Do you know anything about Pogodula snails?
I've never heard of them. Have you?
Pogodula snail. Let me look them up here.
I've never heard of them.
A lot of these things I know by other names.
Well,
But let
that's
me
the thing. Yes, it could be a snail, it's just called something else somewhere else.
Pogodula snail images. Oh, you know what it is? It's a land snail.
Oh, okay.
It's actually one of the snails that are used as human food.
Oh.
The Maison, stay here. We'll do a picture. These are pretty cool. Let me get it up here. I'm on the wrong. Let's see. Let me get it. Pogodilla snails. There it is. Aren't they cool? Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. Right there.
Oh,
there
they're just like the little drawings of a snail.
A peppered snail recipe. Look at that.
Wow.
Boy, they're pretty big too, aren't they? They're bigger than the size of that tomato
I guess
slice.
that's a good meal.
Now this is that's a mystery snail.
It looks like
Freshwater mystery snail. Let's see. This is
that one on the bottom. Sure looks like.
Yeah, look at that. Here we go.
Yeah. So possibly an apple snail.
No, they're not apples.
Not apple snails?
They're a land snail.
Totally land. Okay.
Totally land snail. Yeah, the best snail creams.
It's cool looking.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
I like it.
Most popular freshwater snails. That's pretty cool. Nature check. 5 recommendable snails for the freshwater tank. So what are these? Take a look at them. There are 3 here. Actually 4, it looks like. These are nereids. They're horned nereids, striped nereids. These are also nereids. The spotted,
there's some fancy nereids out there.
Yeah, and these are Malaysian trumpet snails. Here's a good example of a land snail.
Oh yeah.
Snails and slugs. Here we go. Most popular snail dishes in the world. Look at that. Doesn't that look just scrumptious? Grove snail.
I don't know if Jennifer wanted to know how to cook them, but
really?
Or she just wants to keep them.
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's neat looking though.
Jennifer, thank you, Jennifer, for your $5 super chat, and you're very cool. You're very cool. Now I need to find her. Where is she at 9:25? Oh, and I'm way down.
I'm way above that in the chat. So I haven't made it.
I am too. I'm at like.
Questions.
Oh, here we go. I got it.
Okay.
9:25. Let's see. Jennifer.
And Daniel still doesn't have a wrench. Are you sure you gave it to him?
Yeah, it may not come up quickly. I did. They don't always come up right away. Daniel Gonzalez. Yes, he does. He's got a wrench at 9:22.
Okay, finally came through. Okay, all right.
And he's saying, what would be a good food for guppy fry? Well, we just discovered the bug bites. Anything.
I was just saying,
anything, doesn't matter. The
They're
best
not hard to
quality
feed.
food you can find.
Yeah.
An omega food. We sell a new food called Prime. That's in fact, I need to put it on my Getco site. It's a very high quality food that's produced in Israel for fish farms all over Europe. Um, has not had much of an introduction, only to the farmers here in this country. It's not gotten into the hobbyist trade at all. But we have it available in $10, excuse me, in $10 packages. Extremely high quality food that contains a biological, antibacterial, as well as uh, uh, an additive oregano. It has oregano in it. Mediterranean oregano, no less. So real high quality food.
Okay. Daniel has a question at 909.
Okay.
It says I have a 20-gallon tank with gravel and plants. Also, just have 2 bristlenose plecos in it for now, but I want to change it to a shrimp tank. So, what substrate should I use?
Just add sand to it. You don't need to take anything out. Add at least 1 inch, preferably 2 inches of sand. 1 inch will be adequate. It's going to sift down in that gravel.
Right.
So you might want to just make sure you've got at least a skim of sand on the surface. And that's really all you need to do. That's going to accomplish a number of things. That'll make it easier for the tank to digest. Think of the tank as organic. The tank is an organic. This is a good image. The tank is an organic creature. Think of it as consuming uh, nutrition and converting that nutrition into food for other things living in the tank. If you think of the whole thing as one organic structure with all of these living parts in it, that'll help you understand what you really are doing with the fish tank. You're nurturing the life in that tank. So I used an expression yesterday in the video on dirty tanks, where I talked about the tank healing itself, and that's a good image, because a tank needs to be able, if it's broken, damaged, injured in some way, it needs to be given the opportunity to heal itself. And you do that very simply. You do that by getting rid of whatever the problem is, whether it's a big dead fish or a whole glump of food that's thrown in there or something else, like gravel, capping it with sand so that it can feed more naturally, so it can digest more naturally. Um, Once you do that, then you leave it alone. Don't go in there and keep messing with it. You can add plants, you can add fish, you can do relatively non-invasive things. What you don't want to do is stir it up. I mean, the worst thing in the world you can do to a fish tank is gravel vac it. It's absolutely, hands down, the worst thing you can do to a fish tank. Let me say that one more time. The worst thing you can do to a fish tank is gravel vac it. What you need to do, instead of removing all of the waste material that is building up and trying to nurture the system, is cap it with sand. Put some sand in there so the water cannot flow through nearly as quickly. It'll keep it out of the water column and allow it to deteriorate, to break down, and to become available as nutrition for plants and other microscopic life down in that substrate. So you need a relatively deep substrate. Putting an inch of gravel in a tank, then cleaning it out every week or every month or every whatever is not anything even close to a balanced tank. It's quite the reverse of a balanced tank. It is the maintenance of an imbalanced tank, of a tank that is not in balance and that there's little, if any, hope to keep in balance. Caveat. There are always caveats. Caveat. Here's one. The tank you're looking at behind Joey. That's a tank that gets cleaned routinely. Am I right, Joey?
Yeah, I don't clean it. I just do a water change. About
You don't
every 2
clean
to
the
3 weeks.
substrate. You're
No, I
not
don't clean it.
gravel. Okay, good.
I
All
don't do
right.
anything. I just put a siphon in, put it out the window, drain out about 50% of it, put my Python on, fill it back up, squeeze out my
How often?
sponge
How often
filters.
do you do
About
that?
every 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And
Okay.
then I have a, an Aquaclear 110 on the back that I have sponges in, and I take
Right.
that out, go over, rinse out my
Clean them
sponges,
out.
put them back. That's it. I never gravel
Okay.
that. No.
So here's the caveat, though. The caveat is she has a lot of big fish in for their size, a relatively small tank.
Yes.
Generally, for fish that size, you would see them in 100 to 200 gallon tank, typically. Is that a 55?
It's a 75.
A 75. Okay, so it's another 6 inches deeper front to back.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are what, a dozen fish in there?
Yep.
Yeah, about that. And
And
they're
they
big.
range,
They're
like that
6
one.
inches long.
That one, the biggest one's probably got like an 8-inch body, and then they go down from there.
So upwards of a
it's
foot,
hardly
some of
stopped.
them. Yeah, and they do fine. But there is maintenance required to be able to do that.
Yes.
If if you want to do that in a balanced tank, you need a substantially larger tank to make it happen. Or you need a substantial amount of plants. Live plants. There are only 1 or 2, I think, in there. You can do it with a lot of live plants. That's how I do it, with a lot of live plants and with a very deep sand bed. So you can do it. It can be done.
Sure.
Or you can do it with a maintenance program. Joey is not afraid of work. She
No.
In her there is no love's labor lost.
Right. I don't know. I don't think I'd know what to do with myself if there wasn't a lot of work.
Really.
I'm trained to work. Yeah.
Quite so. And so she's able to maintain really a very spectacular tank. So the caveat is I'm not talking about what must be done. I'm talking about what needs to be done if you want to have a long-term stable tank that requires very little maintenance.
I agree with that.
If that's your goal. Boy, do I have a plan for you. If you want to be in there mucking around every day, doing things in that tank, then what I'm suggesting is not for you. It ain't going to work at all because it thrives on being undisturbed. So maybe that helps to understand a little bit. If I call for adding sand, it's because I'm looking at a tank that really needs more stability than it currently has, given the level of support it's receiving.
Absolutely. So this is just a fun comment from Johans. So he says, "Woo! I finally got my girlfriend to say yes to a fish room. Doing a little fish room victory dance."
All right.
Awesome. Congrats.
All right.
Yeah. And then
I was on with Chris Biggs the other night. We had a nice time. We were talking about somebody had asked the question, how do I get my wife interested in my hobby? And I've confronted this many times, of course. And it's really a critical issue, because if you're married and you've got this little hobby on the side, you need to be able to share it with those who are living in that home with you,
Yes.
at least on some level. So here's if it's critical, if you really need her to be involved because she's complaining and carping every time you buy a container of food, here's what you need to do. Assume that what she's really saying is, I want to be part of this. She's complaining about you're spending the money because she doesn't have a hand in that. So here's what you do. You say to her, okay, fine. I will not go to the fish store again unless you are with me. And then don't go to the fish store again until she is ready to go with you. And that may take a while. Try to be patient, but also remind her that you need to get some filters or buy some food or whatever it is.
Some little trick.
Right. So when she's ready, you take her in. Now, that's not the end of it, that's the beginning. You take her in and you make sure she is walking around looking at the fish, not the equipment, the fish. You want her looking at the fish. Oh, come here, honey, look at this. And she'll go, oh, uh-huh. What's down there? And send her down. Send her on her own. Don't try to direct her attention. Let her find stuff. Get her in the fish section and get her looking. She will find something that she likes. What do you like? Oh, I really like the angels. Buy them. Buy them.
It's like bingo. Yeah.
Buy them. Right then, buy them. If you don't have a tank to put them in, do you hear the macaw out there? He's saying, buy them. Buy them. If you don't have a tank to put them in, buy a tank to put them in. Buy them. And then you help her set up that tank. It's her tank, her fish. And then you got her.
That's the hook, huh?
That's the hook.
Funny. It's true, though. Find something that the other
Yeah,
person
you
likes.
bet. You bet.
Absolutely. So,
You bet.
are we done there?
Oh, for now. For
Okay.
chapter 2 will come later.
We're never done. Yeah. So, Duco has a question. Does anyone have any tips treating fin rot on bettas and gouramis currently treating with Isha 2000? I don't know what that is. But some medication.
It's either fin rot.
Yeah, fin rot on bettas and gouramis. And they're currently treating it with whatever that medication is. I'm not quite sure what that is.
Okay, here's the problem. If you have fin rot on a fish, now I'm not talking about an injury that might get a little bit of fungus on it. I'm talking about fin rot where the fin is being attacked and eaten away. If you have that, then you have a uniquely foul tank. Uniquely foul to the point where bacteria has exploded in it to such a degree that it's looking for new food sources. One of the food sources becomes the fins of fancy fish. So the first thing to do is clean up the tank. Very likely, you've got two things going on in that tank. Number one, you have gravel in the bottom of it. Number two, you're substantially overfeeding. So the fix for this is very simple. Number one, you cap that gravel with 2 inches of sand. You can put it in right through the water. Use a washed sand that doesn't have a lot of dust in it, like the black anthracite sand, sandblasting sand, sapphire sand, or the white pull filter sand, something that's not dusty. Pour it in there, let it sift down, let it pack that in 2 inches above the level of the gravel. That's number one. Number two, do not put another piece of food in there for an absolute minimum of 1 month. You need to discipline yourself. You've allowed yourself to be controlled by behavior, the fish's behavior, that is triggering you to put food in the tank. The behavior is that looking at them coming toward the front of the glass when you walk in the room. You have conditioned those fish to look for food when you're around. And you satisfy that conditioning by putting food in that tank every time you're around. Stop doing that. Stop doing it long enough that the fish stop coming to the front of the tank when you walk in the room. At that point, you can begin feeding very, very tiny, teeny, tiny amounts of food once a week at the absolute maximum. You got all that, Chief? Now, to the sick fish. Take the fish out of the tank. Do not treat the water column. It's really not going to help. Take the sick fish out of the tank and treat the fin topically. Put medication directly on the infection while the fish is in the net or in your hand or whatever, out of the water. Treat it right on the surface of the fish. And then put that fish in a hospital tank, in an otherwise empty tank with an air stone in it, not even with a sponge filter. Just, and you really don't need the air stone because one fish in a gallon bowl, providing it's not 6 inches long, is going to have enough oxygen naturally dissolving in the water to be able to sustain itself. But you can put an air stone in it if it makes you feel better. Do not put food in that bowl. Don't you dare put one speck of food in that bowl until that fish is completely healed. You don't want any bacteria in there at all. You may need to do a water change. You probably won't. The bacteria that's on the fish is not gonna populate into the water. There's nothing there for it to eat. It ain't going anywhere. It's gonna stay on the fish, and the medication you're putting on it is gonna kill it, and it will heal the fish. Then give it time to heal. Once the infection is stopped, it needs to have time to heal. A few days is adequate. A week is better. Once it's healed and happy, no longer any infection, and you have fixed the problem in your tank, do a 25% water change. 10% every other day is a good rule until you get things balanced. Then you can put them back in there. So, long answer to a simple story, but it's a critical one because fungal infection on fish is absolute proof that that tank is foul. It's absolute. You may not see it, you may not smell it, but by golly, it's there. It is foul. That's the only possible way that fish can get fungus. Caveat again, an injury can cause fungus to grow on a fish's tail because an injury will be attacked by opportunistic bacteria. They will kill the around the edge of the injury, kill the flesh around the edge of it, and fungus will grow on that. Again, that fish needs to come out and be treated. If that's the case, it may not be that your tank is foul, but it certainly has excess bacteria in it, which needs to be controlled. And that's a function 100% of the time, a function of overfeeding. If you think you're not overfeeding, you're wrong. You are overfeeding. No matter what you feed, you're overfeeding. Most tanks with little fish and plants and a deep substrate can survive indefinitely with you putting zero amount of food in that tank indefinitely. And I've had comments in the chat here and in follow-ups and videos, people utterly irate about this. How stupid you are, Father Fish. Fish must be able to eat. Of course they can. And the tank is perfectly capable of doing what it does best, which is providing for the nutritional needs of everything living in it. That's what the circle of life is. That's what the chain is. That's what the balance and the harmony is. If you ain't got that, you just haven't figured it out yet. So I'm a little wrathy about this because people are trying to claim that, no, I have to feed my fish every day or they'll starve to death. No, you don't. Fish do not eat every day in the wild. They do not. And a fish that is not hungry is a fish that is sick. And I could go on for days about this, but I won't because it's not the only thing we're here for.
It's not? And you said the other day you wanted me to share some of the things that make me laugh. Because I'm always chuckling while he's doing his thing, and I feel like people think I'm laughing at you, but I'm not. I'm laughing at things that I'm reading.
Get right ahead.
But Johan's, he's killed me on this. So Father Fish, my girlfriend, did find what she liked last time in the pet shop. They were selling ice cream at the exit. She bought this.
Well, I hope that's an ice cream she can't get anywhere else.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. Just made me laugh.
Funny stuff. Funny stuff.
And then
Selling ice cream at the exit. I like that.
You need to do that. You need to be selling some sort of little candy.
Well, I thought about doing wine and cheese party, like
well, that
once
works
a
for the
month.
adults, but you gotta reel in the kids too.
For kids, yeah, right.
You gotta reel in everybody.
I did something like that for a while, and the ants took over. So,
well, there's that.
I had a soda machine. That's what it was. I had a little chiller box with sodas in it, and it just got to be too cumbersome.
Yeah.
Kids feeding Coca-Cola to guppies didn't work too well.
Right. Yeah, that'll mess up your tank. Yeah. So, Fantastic Fish says, Father Fish, I had a problem setting up a deep bed. Set up my topsoil, turned into dirty water. I added sand and gravel, then capped with 3 inches of sand. Will it be okay?
Probably.
Do some water changes. It should settle, right?
You get the dirty water out. Yeah. You gotta do things in the right order here.
Exactly.
Otherwise you're in trouble. You start with 1 inch to 1.5 inches of mud. I don't recommend more than that. I know in the past I've said it can be 2 or 3 inches. I really don't recommend that. I recommend 1 inch to 1.5 inches of mud. And then cap it with an absolute minimum of 2 inches of sand.
But
now,
we're talking about an empty tank. We're not talking about a tank that's set up and add.
Yeah, precisely.
Precisely.
Start with a bare tank, nothing in it. Make mud out of that dirt, not watery mud, concrete slurry mud. The kind of mud you can make a ball out of and do mud pies with. you want it not watery. If it's watery,
Right.
use a net, dip it out, and pour water off, or squeeze it, or something. Inch of mud, 2 inches of sand, then add water. But when you add water, put a towel or a plate or a rock or something on top of that sand, so when the water goes in, it doesn't splash the sand. It doesn't make a hole in the sand and go down to the dirt. If you do that, you may as well start all over again. You do not want to get that dirt in the water. The whole purpose of the sand is to create a barrier, a semi-permeable barrier, like your skin. Your skin is a semi-permeable barrier. Things get through, but not very fast and not very well. There are a lot of things that don't get through, but your skin is a semi-permeable barrier. It's not rock. It's not steel. It has holes in it, if you will. It's got pores, but more to the point, it has cell structure that allow things to flow around them. It's semi-permeable. The sand needs to be semi-permeable. By doing it 2 inches deep, it becomes such. It becomes sufficiently a sufficient barrier to prevent water flowing through it and washing dirt back out of it. That's the whole idea. To get the water in there without stirring that up, and then you're good to go.
Yep.
So I don't know what happened. Whether you try to put the dirt in through the water, put water in before you put the sand in. I don't know what happened, but it's important to do it in the right order and to do the right steps and to understand why you're doing it. It's one thing to copy. It's another thing to understand, which is why I spend most of my time talking and not showing. The problem with showing, and it's something I like to do and need to do, but the problem with showing is if you don't understand, then you're simply trying to copy the what you see happening without understanding why you're doing it.
Right.
It's important to understand why you're doing it, so that you know, there are tiny little variations. There are things I do with my hands other people don't do with theirs, and so forth. And try to understand why you're doing what you're doing so that you can do it the right way.
Exactly. I think it was Chalupa, I'm not sure, that asked earlier, they really want an update on your disaster tank.
Oh, well, the latest video, the one that came out yesterday, is an update on the disaster.
On that tank.
And not a lot of people have looked at it. So go look at that video. That is,
I haven't had a chance. Yeah.
That's precisely what that is. And I'm holding a little bunny rabbit, so you'll know which one it is. That's the latest video. It's called Keeping My Dirty Tank Dirty.
Okay.
Keeping My Dirty Tank Dirty. So
right.
check it out, and it'll give you a good sense of what's going on in that tank. We got some new fish for the tank, which I am enormously excited about. We got some pupfish. So we're going to be breeding them. We did this 2 years ago, very successfully, and looking forward to doing it again. We did not do them in that tank, so this will be something new. We've also got some new plants in there. I think it's going to be a very nice tank. But there's a lot to learn. There's a bunch of interesting information about that tank. We did not bring it back to a perfect state. We brought it like 2/3 of the way back. And I explained in the video why I did that and what we're really trying to achieve. That's where that's where the notion of the tank healing itself, I think, was first used in that video. It's something I hadn't thought of before, but we kind of explained it there. So do take a look at the most recent video. It does need hits. It's not doing nearly as well as it ought to be. So promote it, please.
And speaking of hits, could everybody hit the thumbs up button for Father Fish, please,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind? And then I'm looking because fantastic.
Will turn to Diddy work. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like fantastic. Added the dirt and then put gravel.
Well, they have another thing that another comment they added at 9:38. I think it just says, "I haven't filled the tank yet. If I can create a pocket in the middle of the tank and put the mud in it and recover it, will it be better?"
Yeah, that'll work.
Just anywhere, right? Just get it in there and cover it.
Yeah.
Because really, what you're saying, Father Fish, overall, for anybody.
Hey, guess who's here?
Who?
Rattletrap is here.
Oh, Rattletrap! I know Rattletrap. Hi, Rattletrap.
Hey guys, happy to see you. They're saying we're still here. I just gave you a wrench. Welcome.
Nice.
Nice to see you. Nice to have you here.
But Father Fish, can we just add a little more to this?
Good friends of Catfish Terry.
Yes, I know. That's how I know Rattletrap.
Right.
Really, what you're saying you're doing with that initial dirt layer is you're jump starting the tank, and you're creating an environment right away that might take a few years to create with just substrate.
That's exactly right.
So anybody that has an existing tank, you don't have to worry about the dirt. You just need to cap it, and you're creating the same thing. Don't get hung up on the dirt. You don't have to have the dirt.
Exactly right.
Same environment.
Exactly right. If you've got an old tank that's been set up for years, and you've got 2 inches of gravel in it, all you need to do is add sand to it.
Exactly.
Add 2 inches of sand, and you are good to go.
And it's simple.
You'll get the same kind of growth, the same kind of process, the same thing all the way down the line, because you already have a substantial amount of waste material, if you will, in that gravel bed. You do not siphon it out. Don't gravel back it before you put the sand in there. Just put the sand in right on top of all that muck.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing is don't tear down your existing tank to do what you think that they have to do to achieve your method. They can achieve it with their existing tank. Don't tear a tank down. Just add your sand. But a new tank, do your dirted substrate to jumpstart your system.
Yeah, the dirt is only needed in a brand new tank.
Exactly. I think that's where people are getting confused. I think they come in and they think they have to get that dirt in there. You don't if you've already got a tank that's been running for 2 years.
Yeah, if you've already got a tank that's been set up for a couple of years, and you've got a fairly thick layer of gravel in there, you've already got mulm in there. You've already got a lot of bacteria in there. You've already got a lot of things happening. You just need to take one more step and cap it. And you'll be good to go.
Simple. Simple. And that's your whole approach, really, is simple and maintenance-free tank.
Yeah.
In the end. Because you don't like doing water changes.
Right. Greg the Guppy guy says, I got lucky, successfully raised betta fry without live food, just a sponge filter and first bites. Right. What you were able to do, Greg, is you were able to feed them judiciously enough that you were not fouling the tank in the process. The real danger with feeding dry foods like that to baby fish is overfeeding. Mm-hmm. And it's the easiest thing in the world to do. And it will kill the fish. So it wasn't that you were lucky. It's that you were extremely careful,
Right.
and very disciplined in how you did that. So kudos to you for pulling off a project that's not easy to do. It shows some real discipline
That's
and
true.
a good sense of what's actually going on in that tank. Not easy to do.
Hmm. I'm just reading.
turned it turned it right back on you, didn't I, Greg?
I'm just reading a comment from Texas Fish. It's an interesting comment at 10:02, I believe. Would you like to read that one? And I'll look for
Yeah, go
something
ahead. I
else.
don't have it.
Okay. It says, I have been experimenting. I have been using 15 to 20% safety zorb in the soil that came from my backyard. The last 5 tanks haven't had algae blooms in the beginning like I normally had. That's interesting. 15 to 20. What? I don't know exactly what safety. I guess safety zorb in the soil. Huh.
Okay, give me this again.
It says it's kind of a statement, but it's interesting. I have been experimenting. I've been using 15 to 20% safety zorb in the soil that came from my backyard. The last 5 tanks haven't had an algae bloom in the beginning like I normally had. So they're
Because
using a different soil from the backyard and they're not getting those algae blooms.
yeah, and he's also claiming the safety zorb is
safety zorb, yeah.
having
And
an
then the soil.
could well be. Don't have any experience with it.
I don't either.
Sounds interesting, yeah.
But it's all, it's always interesting to read what somebody else has for an experiment or an experience,
Jack and Dan.
Texas Fish says it absorbed. They feel the safety zorb absorbed the extra nutrients in the soil. Maybe.
Probably, yeah. But what's it doing with it? Just holding it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, don't know.
Like charcoal would.
Let's see. Jack and Dan back at 9:21 are responding to something, and I think it's the food thing. And they said we've gone through the same thing recently, and I'll be doing a video on it soon. Social Darwinism. Don't know what they're referring to, but it sounds interesting. And welcome, Jack and Dan. Nice to have you. Nice to have you here.
I mean, welcome to everybody. You have a lot of people in here today, and it's wonderful.
Good mother. I love it having Amanda in here. I need to. I have been doing videos with Amanda, and they've been a little more revealing than I'm always happy with. She has a way of getting me into conversations that are very personal and rather intimate about family stuff. But what she is doing on her Good Mother channel is utterly remarkable, and I enjoin you to check it out and to follow her exploits. She's reviewing a lot of other videographers and a lot of other public figures, and doing it in such a way as to pierce to the heart of some of the dreadful problems we have in our society today. So do by all means check out Good Mother. It's Amanda Fox, otherwise known as Precious Tranquility, one of the great goldfish keepers in our hobby and in our fish farm. Really remarkable and well worth getting involved in, and she will be happy to chat with you as well. Thanks for coming in, Amanda. Delighted to have you. She's in Texas, So
Yes.
I don't get to
Ticks.
do as much with her as I'd like to, because by the time she's settled down in the evening, I'm going to bed.
Oh, it's a 2-hour difference, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. The time change. I'm scrolling.
Yeah, she's saying, yeah, Joey, only the strong survive. Tell that to these socialist propagandists. Amen. Amen. That's what they're all on about. Got it.
Got it.
Oreo Rodriguez tried to raise Serpe Tetra babies. Failed every
Yes.
time. Yeah, you gotta do live food. Get microworm culture. That will solve the problem for you. It's easy to maintain, easy to raise, and it will provide the food that they need at that earliest stage. It'll
Yeah.
it'll get them over the hump of that first week or so.
It will.
They are tiny little buggers, and they
Right.
really
And the
need
benefit
food.
well, the benefit of the microworms is you can put them in and they don't die right away. They live for typically a day or two, so they won't foul
Yeah.
your water, and they can feed on them, for
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't
Microworm
want to foul the
culture,
water.
easily available. I could put that on my channel too. I can
You
sell
should.
microworm culture.
Yeah, you should. A lot of people do.
If you're getting eggs, then you need to do this.
Oh yeah.
Oreo, you will love it. It'll solve the problem, and it'll give you tanks full of these really pretty little fish.
Absolutely. So
Even the biologist is saying, well, that would be ick.
yeah.
Sure enough.
Yeah, and I had another question, and it was pretty much going to be that, and I lost it. But maybe Stephen addressed it right there. You got another nice statement from Vaughn, where he says, I'm in class right now, and I can definitely say Father Fish has taught me more than my teacher has. That's a nice statement.
Johan is saying, Father Fish YouTube stream is perfect time for me. Always starts when I get home from work. Yeah, I used to have this European contingent for our morning streams. Their afternoon streams. Yeah, that is fun.
It's nice. Every time I have a question, okay, yeah, we did that one. Okay, sorry.
Pristine water. Somebody said pristine water is the best treatment for fin rot. Yeah, that's right. I had it and lost it. Amazing.
Well, same with me. It's like I had something, and then obviously the chat jumped, and I'm like, "Where'd that go? I had a question."
TJ, I picked up 4 fish tanks of people's junk piles today. Good job.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Rohan asked, he said, Father Fish, I got a new pond, 4x4. Don't know how to filter it and whether to keep it outdoors. My existing canister filter is on my 55. So do you have any suggestions for filtration for him?
Yeah, if you're doing it, if you're doing it outdoors, that's an outdoor pond. Sounds like a kiddie pool. If it's to do this successfully, you need at least 12 inches of water. So if it's a foot deep, you can put a layer of dirt in the bottom. You do not need to cap it. Put a layer of dirt in the bottom, fill it with water, put some plants in it. Bog plants or aquatic plants. Do not put any kind of filtration in it at all. No aeration, nothing. Now, we're for the most part in this hemisphere, we're in the wrong time of year to do this. It's just too cold out for much to go on. But you can set it up. You can set it up and you can get it out there and you can get it going. The plants are not going to do much until the spring. You might even hold off putting plants in it if you're freezing until the spring. Once the spring thaw comes, it'll be ready. You can put plants in it then, and just let her go. Just let her rip. You do not need to put fish in it. I mean, food in it, but do put some fish in it. Don't put the fish in until the spring, till the water's starting to warm up to at least above 60 degrees, unless you have natives. If you have natives, you by all means put natives in there, native to your area, so that they're going to be able to tolerate the temperatures. And then just let it go as an outdoor native body of water, like a rain pool. Let it go all summer long like that. Then you can get in there. You'll be able to watch it and observe it. If you get a little glass box, a bowl will work with a flat bottom, a jar even, something with a flat bottom that you can put down to be able to look under the water without the light refraction on the surface. You'll be able to see pretty well into it and see what's going on. You can make a box like that with some clear plexiglass and then make a square frame around the edge so you can put it on the surface and be able to look down in your tank. It's really a neat little device and allows you to see things that really, really are fascinating and a whale of a lot of fun. So just let that go on its own. Don't worry about capping it. Don't worry about putting sand in it. You're not trying to you're not trying to make it a visually delightful. You're trying to create a living environment. You can put a little sand if you want, not critical. The dirt will stay down because you're not agitating the water. No filtration, no aeration, perfectly still water.
So this was back on when you were talking about getting people involved, you know, your better half involved. But I didn't see this, but it's funny from Carrie from Science Gal. She says, I got my better half interested in the hobby, and now he just tells me how to do everything. She's like, LOL, but it's still more fun. I can see that, you know, that could easily happen. All of a sudden,
Okay, here's chapter 2. Chapter 2. I wasn't going to get into this yet, but here it is. Chapter
creating the
1.
monster.
Chapter 1 is getting her or him involved.
Right.
Now you got them involved. Now, chapter 2, this is equally important. It's called division of labor.
Ooh,
Division
yes.
of labor, right? Division of labor is, and there's a natural way in which this happens. Division of labor is you take care of the mechanical aspects, I'll take care of the husbandry aspects. Typically, that works extremely well with husband and wife. A husband takes care of all the mechanical aspects, setting up the tanks, doing the filters, fixing the lights, doing the water changes, all that stuff. The wife takes care of the husbandry side of it, feeding the fish, taking care of the fish, keeping them healthy, planting plants. That can be both. That kind of crosses over. Try to create that division of labor. That helps to cut down friction, and it more to the point, it gives you double the effort because you're not crossing at you're not doing cross purposes. You're
True.
not both doing the same thing. You're doing two different things, both of which very much need to be done. So you're accomplishing twice as much as you would otherwise. Division of labor, chapter 2.
Chapter 2. You have a really nice statement from B33Z. And it's
Go
right
ahead.
at the bottom. It's right at the bottom. But anyway, it says, hello, Father Fish and Joey. I have no question. I just wanted to thank you for all the information you have put out and hosting these live shows.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
You know,
we like to talk about fish, right?
yeah, really.
I mean, that's why I got involved
see
in
it,
YouTube,
yeah.
to find fishy friends, because there's none around here.
330, you just earned yourself a wrench there, guy.
Very nice. Very well done. Thank you. And I would just like to say, can I just say thank you to Chevy Fish for greeting and all of her knowledge, and thank
You bet,
Lori
you bet,
Venter
absolutely.
for
Yeah.
dropping the links and taking care of everybody. Thank
Yeah.
both those women. They're
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
And hit the like button. I haven't checked to see how we're doing, but if you could give Father Fish a thumbs up.
Let's take a look. We have 65, 66, 78 watching. So we're in pretty good shape. Two no like you too. It's good.
We always get a couple.
I'd be unhappy if they weren't there.
That's right.
Red Eye loves Father Fish's gaming chair. Really.
Hi, Nicole.
James Handy, my wife feeds the fish. I do everything else. That ain't bad. Oh,
she's got fun.
Get her working on breeding the fish. That'll give her.
She's got the fun part, you know.
Yeah, really.
I think we all like feeding our fish, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to say something more about this live stream thing. I've been doing the live stream now for I don't know how long, 7 months, 8 months, something.
Okay.
Every day. I missed 1 or 2 days, but basically every day. And it did not show any results in terms of either membership, patronage, very much, or growth in the channel, additional views, so forth. Kind of minimal until I started seriously doing videos again. And then it was like an explosion. And what I realized is there were so many people that were plugged into the live streams, which they're not designed to be growth functions. They're not designed to help grow your channel, and they really don't. But boy, did they get people involved such that when I finally started getting good videos out again, they just went through the roof. And it's been that way ever since. We are in a 3-week growth spurt now that started just before Christmas, and it's continuing. It is leveled out. We're at about 5,000 views a day, and that's up from 250 on more than that. It's up from 1,000. We were at 1,000 views a day for 7 or 8 months, 9 months, 1,000 views a day. Now it's up to 5,000 views a day, and that's been going on for a solid 3 weeks. And it looks like it's plateauing. We're averaging about 100 new subscribers a day, 85, 90 to 100 subscribers a day. In the last 3 weeks, we've had 2,000 subscribers in 3 weeks. And I really credit all of it to what we're doing here in the mornings, because it has built a body of interest and a body of people who are tuned in, who like what we're doing, and are coming back and being supportive. And that's opening up the algorithm. So we're reaching many new people. Thank you all so very, very much. It has created opportunities for me to be able to move forward with some really new and exciting challenges, that some of which I've already mentioned. It's also allowed me to be supportive of people who I've wanted to be supportive of, financially supportive, who are deeply, deeply deserving people who work hard in the fish famine and provide a genuine service to many, many different people. So this is wonderful. I'm hoping we can just keep it up and that my energy level, which is improving. I've been doing 1-a-day vitamins. Seems to really help.
I'm telling you, multivitamin is huge.
It's
Everybody
amazing.
take a
I'm
multivitamin.
really impressed with it. You bet.
I've told other people I start taking it and they're like, wow. And I'm like, it's so easy to do. It's just a multivitamin, but people think they don't really help, but they do.
You really do.
They do.
And thank especially Joey and Cass for coming up and working with me every morning. And one more word, Mary and Cass are secretly working together to try to create, and I hope they can do this. Try to create a live stream that I don't know what their regularity would be, but I'm hoping they take Catfish Terry's system on and are able to do regular live streams. That will be wonderful. Just wonderful. I've been encouraging Mary to do just that, to get on and do her own live stream. She so needs to do that. And it would be so wonderful for her and for all of us. Just it'd be an absolute delight.
Exactly.
So let's see. Xanadu just there. Where is it?
Oh, Xanadu gave you a super chat. Yes.
I'm looking for it. Yeah, where'd it
Thank
go?
you. Well, I see it.
There it
It
is.
says, yes, we love you, Father Fish. Oh, there you go.
Thank you so much. Conform by, obey, consume. No thought. Yeah, I hear that.
You know,
God
I
knows.
think, I don't know this, but I feel like people like it because it's not the same thing, exactly the same thing every day. You know, the questions come in, it takes you in a direction, but it's
Yeah,
all interesting.
that's why I have not wanted to have an agenda
Right.
here because I want the people who are participating to set the agenda. Yeah,
And that's exactly how it works. They ask
yeah,
the questions,
it
points
really
you
is.
in a direction, and that's where we go.
Thank you,
So
Xanadu.
I
Appreciate
agree.
your
Yes. Thank
support
you,
very much. What are we doing? We're down at 10:30, aren't we?
Oh, we're getting down there. There's still some people coming in.
Boy, piling in. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, Science Gal says she definitely enjoys the chats. Always looking forward to it. So you're getting a lot of good feedback, Father Fish, which is nice.
You betcha.
And yes, everybody. Father Fish, Karuna Garin wants to know if they can drop a Viber community link here. I don't know what that is, but is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you have a wrench, feel free to drop links.
You can drop your own link. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're giving people wrenches, so they can drop links. We're not giving them wrenches so they can knock other people out of the chat. I'll be happy to do that as needed. And it ain't needed often. There was something I wanted to say about that. Oh, I know what it was. I've had recently a couple of people who have come up, not here in the chat, but come up on videos, who have been extremely argumentative. I guess is the best way to put it. Not hostile particularly, although I sense a little hostility, but more.
I like to say triggered.
Yeah, triggered, right?
They've been triggered.
Hostile. Yeah, aggressively argumentative. And my attitude about that is I don't want to deal with anybody on that level.
Right.
I don't want to get into a fighting match with anybody. So if that comes up, I will delete that comment. If somebody's making an overtly hostile or argumentative comment, I will delete it. If it is a question, if it is an observation, if it is, but my experience is, that's fine. If it is, Father Fish, you're an idiot for saying this, it's obviously wrong, and how stupid can you be? I'm going to delete that. Even if it does not include an overtly personal attack. If it is
Right.
overtly hostile and argumentative, I will not tolerate it. And anyone who does that 2 or 3 times in a row will be banned from being able to comment on the channel. So
Mhm.
you may
Well,
not agree with me. That's fine. I'm not asking for agreement. I'm simply saying this is what I choose to do with my channel. I'm not going to have that level of argumentation going on my channel. I just don't want it. Don't want it, don't need it. I
I
don't need
don't
to get,
blame you.
I get wrothy enough without having to
I
get
know.
angry.
But can we just? I'm gonna refer to Bandy and Flower. If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Well, and you can say
No, I'm
you
just
can say
teasing.
things in a nice way,
I know.
you
Oh no,
know.
you can absolutely disagree in a nice way. Absolutely.
You
I'm
bet.
just joking around. You do have one question. Could I read it to you?
Sure.
So Tony says he's having a hard time finding SAEs in his local LFS and need a clue how to rid my 2 tanks of BBA. Any ideas?
Sure.
Oh, I knew you'd have one.
First of all, don't hate BBA. Do not hate BBA. BBA is there for a reason. It has happened in your tank for cause. And the cause is you're overfeeding your fish. It is really that simple. So slow down on feeding, number one. Number two, do some water changes. You probably have very old water. Do some water changes. Number three, if you don't have sand as a cap, put it in. Number four, there was a number four.
There wasn't a before.
Number
Oh
feeding,
boy.
feeding. Right. Well, three will do.
Yeah, 3's enough. We don't
You
need
get through
4.
the three or fourth will come. Will
When
come
you
to mind.
when you think of 4, just shout it out at some point. When 4
Black-beard
pops in your
algae.
head.
Well, don't hate it. Don't hate your
Okay.
black-beard algae. It's there for a reason. You're overfeeding. You need to do water changes. Get a sand cap going in there. That's four.
So
I'm sure we can come up with a fifth.
yeah, so Tony gave you a nice super chat. God bless all of you. Thank you,
Yeah, I
Tony.
just posted it. Yeah, thank you, Tony. God bless you as well. Um, yeah, black-beard algae is your friend. There's a video you might watch. It's called "Algae is Your Bestie." It's one of the more popular videos on the Father Fish channel. Algae is your bestie. Check it out.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Father Fish, what is your opinion of pH down strata for shrimp tanks?
Well, number one, I'm not a good one to talk to about shrimp.
Me either. I'm
I
not a real
I
shrimp
don't
person.
do I don't do well with shrimp. Um, I do not like using pH up, pH down, and the reason is it is virtually impossible to maintain a stable pH if you're using chemicals to adjust the pH and doing water changes and having biological activity. Now, I do not consider the primary ingredient in pH up to be a chemical a balancing factor. that is sodium bicarbonate. pH up is nothing more than sodium bicarbonate. pH down is, it's an acid. I can't remember which one. It's a very much like vinegar. Okay. Comparable to, it's not, but comparable to vinegar. You can use vinegar and sodium bicarbonate, and they will accomplish exactly the same thing as pH up and pH down. That's what they are. It's an acid and a base. You're just trying to use those in such a way as to create a stable pH, and you really can't do it. You're better off just depending on the water you've got. If you want to lower the pH, buy some RO water, or if you have an RO system, use that. That'll adjust it down. You don't want to get it too low, or it'll go acid, and it'll be out of control. But just try to adjust your water with water, not with chemicals.
I got another one of those things that's making me chuckle. Sharpies.
Go
I'm
ahead.
working on growing enough black-beard algae to cover my bald patch. You guys make me laugh. So, you do have a question. It says it's a hypothetical question, but from B33Z. Could coarse filter sponge pads be used as a below sand substrate?
Yeah, sure. They will.
I've seen people do it. Yeah.
Yeah, they will. They will. They'll pack in. I mean, it will become impacted, but yeah, it works just fine. That's perfectly adequate. The only issue, of course, is that it's inert material, like sand is inert material. Dirt is typically not as inert, in that it contains a lot more minerals and biologicals. But yeah, anything you put down there is good. Gravel, same thing with gravel. It all works fine. It's porous.
Tony,
so, yeah.
sorry, I'm like, Tony, don't worry about that. Anything you give is appreciated and unexpected. So Father Fish appreciates everything.
Absolutely.
He wish he could give more, but no, this is wonderful.
Yeah, Tony, you've given a great deal more than most.
And you come to the chat and you
support.
More than
99%.
Right. And, but you come in and you support and you're involved.
Amen.
That's wonderful.
Amen. Fantastic has an RO unit. That gives you a lot of flexibility. Now, also keep in mind, if you have an RO system, don't let the wastewater go down the drain. Save that wastewater. It's perfect water for freshwater fish. It's containing a lot more of the elements, a lot more of not the organics, the inorganics, the minerals that your plants really need in order to thrive. Don't throw the RO water away. The wastewater from your RO system. Save it and use it in your freshwater fish tanks.
Guppy Galore is saying tannins can affect pH, I heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It does, and Fantastic is saying, I've got tannins from driftwood, but the pH is still high. It's not like putting acid in the water. If you want to lower it, try putting some peat moss in. Peat, it's kind of messy. It's kind of messy and moldy, but it will like
nylons before
in a sock. Yeah. Now put it in the sock. That'll help.
Not quite as messy that way.
Yeah. All right. I think we're down to
that one. Guppy Grass said that he likes the way hair algae looks. I do too. I don't mind hair algae.
Once you get, well, it's really true. You get to a place with these plants where you know, one plant is as good as another in a lot of ways. I mean, I
It
have
does.
tanks that have a lot of algae in them, and that's all they got. They're little tiny cells with a
Yeah.
few fish, and they're loaded with algae, and it's very beneficial.
Well, it's effective. It's great for fry. You know, it's doing the same thing for your water. I mean, it works,
Yeah, you bet.
and
You bet.
it's pretty. And if you don't like it loose, you can roll it into a moss ball. That
Right.
works too.
The hire a little Japanese to roll your balls into them. There you go. All right. All right. We're good to go here. We're gonna
Uh,
we're gonna we're gonna play a little
we're gonna
tune.
sign off, are we?
We're gonna play a little tune here.
Sign off for the day.
We're gonna sign off. Thank you all, guys. Love having you. Great fun as always. Thoroughly enjoy it. You're welcome, Gummy Grass. All right. Oh, I got the wrong picture. I had no idea. There we go.
Here come my puppies.
I got it. I got it.
It's time to say goodbye.
Puppy time.
They're sleeping right here beside me, but the minute the music starts, they come over.
Yeah. So tomorrow is Saturday. We will be on tomorrow at 6 in the evening. No morning chat, Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday can be a little bit crazier.
Let me say that without the music so you can hear me. No morning stream Saturday and Sunday. We'll be on 6 in the evening, Saturday and Sunday, and it'll be open forum. We'll invite people to come up and chat, to be part of the stream, part of the video. So do join us 6 Eastern time tomorrow evening. That's midnight, London time. But happy to have you. All right.
Yeah.
See you then.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye all. Nice to see you. Yeah! Tony P. All right. Bye, guys.